It's CJ!
That's me, CJ the Lego guy.
Hey everyone, CJ here. Hope you all doing well. It's the X-Men 97 season finale, and there's so much to talk about, so let's just jump right into it. TLDR, it was super awesome, and I loved it. It was nice to show a talk between Professor X and Magneto talk to each other when this seems to be around the time where they first met, and it was pretty nice to see how their bonds had started. And it's as a reminder as to where they are now when we jump back to the present. But before that, it was a cool little reveal that this wasn't a flashback. More so, it was what's going on right now with Xavier jumping into Magneto's mind, trying to piece Magneto back together while trying to have this last chance to talk with Magnus one-on-one. And I love the visuals that the bar of where they first revealed their powers to each other is seemingly Magneto's safe space, and how it's just surrounded by a dark tide of just all of his most negative emotions and thoughts that's just swirling around. And I thought that these scenes in this mindscape was actually pretty good and showed more to their character and even their bond as well, which I felt like it was definitely needed for these two. It was a little crazy that once we jumped to the present and Professor X is blasting Magneto's mind when he desperately says, please, Charles, please. I was like, oh, dang, this is crazy. This is a little dark for Professor X to be trying to take over Magneto's mind. But thankfully, I was wrong, as later it's revealed that, yep, Professor X was really trying to help Magnus in this seemingly desperate way. When we cut back to what's going on Earth, we see that Cap and Iron Man are in the White House with President Kelly, and pretty cool cameos, and definitely the start of a great series of cameos. Every time I look at this Iron Man, I just think about that one theme song from his cartoon show back in the 90s. In New York, with all the craziness, we see that, Daredevil's here to help out with the riots. So cool to see Daredevil again. Just spat on my mic trying to do the voice from the 90s Spider-Man show. But yeah, last we saw him was from the Spider-Man show. So it's cool to see him back here again. Daredevil born again. Then we cut back to a hospital getting his power back, which, I should have mentioned. Xavier managed to get Magnus to turn back all the power back on and get rid of his EMP wave. So that's why we start to see all the little cameos and what's going on in the world. But yeah, once we cut back to the hospital, we see Doctor Strange is trying to help out, seeing as though he is a medical doctor as well. But it still makes me think about all those that got affected by the EMP wave. When we cut back to Bastion space, we see that Dr. Cooper is still alive, now in captivity. And then we also see, naturally, with the EMP wave gone, all the Prime Sentinels come back online. And I thought that this was Captain Marvel for a sec. I thought this was Carol Danvers, with the hair and the little red headpiece. But then I realized, he has Prime Sentinels that came from regular people doing their day-to-day lives, and then his actual, more Sentinel-looking Sentinels. Back at the Galapagos Islands, where was it Team Gold or Team Blue that was attacking Bastion's base there, we get a grim tease that Jean's not going to make it, seeing as though she's seemingly drowning after Cable's psionic blast on her since Mr. Sinister took over his mind. Bastion begins his speech and monologue about the zero tolerance plan, and it was so deep, and especially this part of the quote, equal opportunity suicide, seemingly saying that, all their efforts is just amounting to nothing, seeing as though he still believes that nothing would change after everything that the X-Men would do to bring peace among all communities, and crazy stuff coming from Bastion, who is crazy incarnate. When Storm interrupts his speech by giving her peace and they start exchanging dialogue, I love the theme of what they're saying to each other, of how Bastion is pretty much saying, I didn't ask to be born. And what Storm is trying to reiterate is that no one asked to be born, but it's what you do with what you have. That's what matters most. I thought that was a pretty great little exchange of dialogue there. I really liked it. When we see things ramp up with Bastion going into this final phase of his zero tolerance plan of just sending all the Prime Sentinels to just pull a Transformers HF extension and just have them just show up in public places and start wiping out people. Jeez, that was crazy. But then we catch another cameo where we do in fact see that, all the Prime Sentinels are really attacking everywhere in the world, seeing as though they're here in Wakanda. And we see Black Panther take on a few Sentinels with, I would hope that Dora Milaje would join in as well, which I'm sure that they would. But it was just, this part was a little bit too reminiscent to Wakanda Forever when the threat shows up at the royalties essentially front window and destroy the glass and then the fight begins. I thought that was a little funny little tidbit. So yeah, when we cut to more scenes of what's going on in the world, we see that people are getting blasted and Daredevil, there he gives us all a scare when he gets knocked into a store. But thankfully, Cloak and Dagger, our next cameos, are there to fight too. In Russia, we see Omega Red and his team, including Morningstar and is this Crimson Dynamo? I'm not quite sure what their team name was called again, but I believe that's the name of these characters. I'm not quite sure. Let me know down in the comment section down below. But then not only do we see them and more cameos, but our next set of cameos are, we then see Psylocke and her team fighting off the Prime Sentinels, which I have no idea who these characters are, nor am I familiar with where they would be stationed at, but please do let me know down in the comment section down below, for I would love to hear about all these cool details that I'm missing. As Bastion continues monologuing, we see that he addresses Cable's failure and existence, which just adds more oil to the already burning anguish that Cable is feeling. Well, with him having to attack Jean just now while being mind controlled, him failing to save his mom and prevent Genosha, and then to make things even worse for Cable, Bastion and Mr. Sinister start berating him over his futile attempts to prevent the genocide on Genosha. And oof, it was deeply tragic when they forcibly ask him to say how many times he tried to prevent it. And when Cable finally says how many times, he says 200 times. 200 times has Cable tried to go back into the past in order to change the events of the Genosha genocide and save his mom. That's insanity. And what's so tragic about this scene is that he's like tearing up. He's just feeling all this anguish boiling up as these two are just standing over him, forcibly making him release all this emotion. But it is necessary to state the amount of strength that he has, seeing as though he's willing to go through such insanity to save the most important person to him, which is his mother, which is something most of us would do for the most important people in our lives and hearts. It was a little funny, though, that Cable came back with a clap back at Bastion, bringing up his mom, but then Bastion just tosses him to the side. And then thusly, we see the inevitable betrayal of Bastion to Mr. Sinister when Bastion's going to eliminate Cable, which I guess goes against their plan, seeing as though Mr. Sinister wanted Cable for himself. But it's like, come on, Mr. Sinister, did you not anticipate that? And then just before Bastion could blast Cable, we get the exciting return of Jean with her reforming the power zapper thingy necklace thing, crown device with her psychic abilities. And even more chills when, yo, fire! We got Phoenix time! It's Phoenix time! It's a surprise to be sure, but a welcomed one. That Jean still has Phoenix power, let's go! Super duper cool to see Jean Grey back with her Phoenix Force powers. And this new form looks so amazing. It's just complete fire. Literally. And also, it was super cool that, like, she formed the Phoenix form with the water, but it's also on fire. So it's cool to see, like, a water and fire Phoenix. And also, when she grabs Bastion, it's with the psychic Phoenix claw talon thing. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. What a great visual. And not gonna lie, Phoenix Force always comes in clutch when it doesn't drive Jean insane, which here it's definitely cool that she's managed to master the power just for this sake in order to save everyone, and especially her son Nathan. And then when she grabs Mr. Sinister after he tried to use Nathan against her, Mr. Sinister ain't got nothing on Jean anymore, seeing as though after all this time of just trying to mess with the Summers family and all the other X-Men, Jean finally puts an end to Mr. Sinister. It was super duper awesome that with the Phoenix Force and her own psychic abilities, she manages to strip all of the stolen DNA and mutations from Mr. Sinister. And that was so cool to see. Such a great visual and such a great, like, way to just utterly destroy Mr. Sinister in such a great defeat. It was super awesome. And naturally, without all of his new abilities and just him being by himself, he loses his powers and completely changed his forms too. Mr. Sinister becomes a prune, which, yeah, this is a great way to show how someone as evil as him, once you strip him of everything, just is left with nothing. Because evil corrupts you till it sucks the life out of you. I loved how after everything that they went through, I completely adore the fact that Morph has one last quip on Mr. Sinister, where Morph just transforms into how Mr. Sinister looks at now and just mocks him, righteously so. And I thought that was a pretty great little moment of just being like, yeah, you who have done so many bad things to so many people, including myself and my friends, yeah, take this L because it's all that you have left. Thought that was pretty good. There was a sweet little moment that I liked where after Jean gets knocked out from using the Phoenix Force and she falls, Cable catches her and they exchange a smile. I thought it was very cute and sweet that the two of them are finally bonding and that Cable can finally recognize Jean as his mom as well. And especially when Storm asks Jean about the Phoenix Force powers. She says that although the powers are gone, it came to her when she needed to use it to protect everyone and especially protect her son. I thought that was a very sweet moment and very great for the two of them. But then Bastion comes in and blasts everyone with his little purpley blasts, and he goes to Cable, has one last talk with him, and takes off his robot arm from his body. Crazy. And since he's what's it called? Technopath? Yeah. Since he's a technopath, oh boy, what he does next is pretty cool. Bastion uses Cable's future tech arm to craft himself a new form and a new body, which looks super menacing and super cool as well. He has this like triangle arc reactor looking thing. He has an even more deadlier look than Archangel's wings. And I appreciate the thing of not only them keeping his like triangle pattern on him, but that it's asymmetrical. It adds a little flair to his demonic robo look. And of course his peeling Terminator-esque face and his glowing eyes. If you need an example of how a true mastermind evil supervillain looks like, here's Exhibit A. Once Bastion reveals his last phase and plan of his plan, I was like, okay, Ultron, you're just going to use Asteroid M as a meteorite to just throw it at the Earth and just wipe out everyone and just start over. Just wipe the board clean and just start fresh. Crazy as a plan and as desperate, but it's still an evil plan that adds an even tighter time limit to where our other team of heroes will need to stop him in. Speaking of, when we catch back with whichever team it was, gold or blue, the other one, we see that Magneto and Professor X are still alive. Well, Magneto is still alive. And with everyone trying to jump back into the ship, they don't even know what's going on. They're just trying to get everyone back to normalcy. We do, in fact, see that they're being tended to, including Wolverine. After Magneto gets amnesia from the brain blast that Professor X gave him, I'm glad that Professor X doesn't just try to mentally rewrite or reprogram Magneto, but he actually does intend to help him regain his memories back, seeing as though all he wants to do is just help Magnus see the truth and help them out with everything that's going on. When Cyclops has a brief moment to talk to Wolverine and says, "Don't you dare break her heart. Do what you do best, heal." I thought that was incredibly great of a character moment between Cyclops and Wolverine, seeing as though there's always the life triangle between them two and Jean, and the fact that he knows that Jean would be devastated if Wolverine were to die here. So just Cyclops trying to give motivational words in a sense to Wolverine to recuperate. I thought that was pretty great. And then Professor X calls in via mental Skype call with Cyclops and Jean to tell him that he's going to be out of the fight too, seeing as though he's trying to repair Magneto and help him out of his mental funk, which shows how much trust they have with each other, seeing as though they know what the other has to do in order to help save the day. I like how after it's revealed that Bastion's going to use Asteroid M as a meteorite to throw to the world, and everyone's feeling the craziness behind it, I like how Sunspot silently and subtly confesses to Jubilee, and they kind of make up after what just happened, which thankfully that's nice and resolved and wrapped up with a little bow. When Rogue takes on Bastion once he arrives, ooh, she put in work, because definitely with all of her powers, naturally she would definitely put up a really great fight against him. And plus, especially when she says the line, his name was Remy, remember it? Ooh, so good. Such a cool fight scene. Also, when they reach the moon, I'm like, okay, I guess everyone can just breathe in the atmosphere, I guess, unless they're low enough in, well, the atmosphere that they can still breathe, I guess. But when I saw this moon base area, I was like, am I missing something, or is this something to come, or something that happened in the original show? I don't remember. Let me know down in the comments. And then to back up Rogue is Sunspot coming in for the save, who debuts his new form, and, well, it's the same form, but in a heroic wig now, and pretty cool one-liners against Bastion, who definitely puts up some work as well. Despite Captain America's protest and, of course, all the other UN leaders trying to, and his cabinet trying to persuade him to go with it, President Kennedy initiates the Magneto Protocols, which, wow, well, I guess it's the traditional thing of in fiction where if something bad's happening in the city or the world, the US government's just going to resort to their favorite last resort option. Well, if it doesn't work out, just blow it up with missiles. Because that always works, right? When we cut back to Magneto and Professor X in the mindscape, when they start talking about the whole symbolism behind the tides surrounding the building which they're in, super, super relatable, especially when it comes to this quote. And while the tide of our past can drag us under, it also carries us to others who are fighting their own current. Which, before we talk more about the quote, it's cool to see that here in this essentially a literal lifeboat, we see the people most closest and dear to Magneto's heart, which is his 3 children, Polaris, Quicksilver, and Scarlet Witch, and also the love of his life, Rogue, which, just the symbolism behind the tide, and it's just the source of just all your dread, all your anguish, and everything, sorrow, anger, rage, everything negative in your life. It's just surrounding you and your loved ones, but it's just up to the strength, trust, and love that you have with one another that will help you rise to the surface and break through the tide and current. I thought that was really deep and really great of a concept as well. And yeah, when Magneto just straight up is about to give up hope on just letting the darkness just overtake him, it was really great that Professor X kept talking about letting those in your heart, despite all the bad things that may have happened with them, to just focus on all the good and help you get through such a dark presence in your heart and free you from it too, which was definitely a sweet moment between both Professor X and Magneto, seeing as though we just break away these characters to their most definitive layer, the layer in which that they care most about each other, their people, and their dream to make the world a better place, which was definitely one of the highlights of this episode, where we just see these two talk about that stuff and bring Magneto back to the light. Once Bastion knocks out Rogue and Sunspot and heads towards the others, oh boy, do they put in work against Bastion too. We see Jubilee do her thing. We see, the Nightcrawler thing where he just keeps teleporting, bashing him until he gets bashed by Bastion. That was super duper awesome and low-key reminded me of when Thanos grabbed Spidey and slammed into the floor too. But definitely the coolest part is always Cyclops when he goes rage mode and full optic blasts. Oh, super cool. It's super awesome. But naturally, Bastion bashes him away too. Thusly, it's Jubilee's turn to get her moment and get some hits in to Bastion, which was pretty cool when she somehow managed to pull an anime moment and weave through the attacks. Not unscathed, by the way, just to manage to grab his face and blast him point blank and into the Sentinel head. That was so cool in my opinion. And yeah, I'm sure some people are going to use this as a point to say of how bad the show is or how bad the episode is, but I thought it was pretty cool. And it's not to say that she's the one that takes the final hit or the final attack on Bastion or takes the win. It was all a team effort, seeing as though this final boss was just a long segmented part with everyone putting in their hits on him. And Jubilee just gets the last hit. That doesn't mean that she's, technically not the last hit, but she gets her moment too, which is definitely a good thing for Jubilee, seeing as though in the original show, Jubilee was just meant to just be there, It almost made it seem like she was the intended damsel in distress in the group, but here she finally pulled through. And it was great that the writing team allowed her to be a character of her own, both confident and strong in her own ways, which should be how every single character is, seeing as though the X-Men is all about helping each other feel stronger and better about themselves too. So naturally, seeing this moment was pretty cool and pretty good for Jubilee to have a moment. And you can consider this all a team ultimate attack as well. So her part in it with the point blank blast at Bastion was pretty cool. It was super funny that during Bastion's evil monologue, he gets interrupted by the other team arriving in a what is essentially a sentinel horse. And I love how Bastion thought that it was one of his sentinels, but nope, it was actually the other X-Men, which Beast even makes a joke about it too, which was pretty great and pretty funny now that we got everyone together for one final attack on Bastion to stop him and defeat him once and for all. But instead of killing him to prevent all of his evil, dastardly plans, the X-Men decide to save him in the sense of not killing him and allowing him to join them in peace and repent for all of his sins and redeem himself by giving up his nefarious plans, which I thought that was an interesting change, seeing as though as I was watching, I'm just like, all right, everyone charge up your ultimate so that when he gets out of the Sentinel's foot, just blast him. But it was great to see the detail that it's Cyclops that stops the fighting, seeing as though he's the leader, and this is another example of why he is the de facto leader for the X-Men and the best leader that they can have, seeing as though this is their last chance to plead to his humanity and do the right thing and offer a chance to be better, which naturally Rogue is reluctant to hear this news, but even she puts that aside to realize that this is the right thing to do. And even though they all know that Bastion wouldn't take up their offer, the important thing is that they at least propose the idea that he should change his ways and they allow him a second chance. But naturally, Bastion being Bastion, he would rather not join them, and during his speech, he reminds everyone that, oh yeah, right, the missiles. I forgot about the missiles. Just like I forgot about the water in the Batman when the water finally comes in at the end. But yeah, the missiles are coming right out. They're about to explode right now. We should all get out. So yeah, naturally the missiles is the big the big monkey wrench that ruins the moment of stopping the villain. Bastion's last speech to the X-Men, including this line, "Humanity would rather die than have kids like us," and for Jean Grey to talk more about how the world is changing whether or not he likes it or not. Oof. This whole entire last speech between the two and between everyone here was just very deep as well and super relatable to everything that's been going on recently in current events, where some people just don't want things to change, but change is a necessary thing in life. And we shouldn't be subjugating each other because of our differences, but we should be celebrating the things that we have that are alike, because that's what the human spirit's all about. And we're all just trying to live and survive every day. So we might as well just work together in order to do that more efficiently, which Bastion, even to the very end, is very much against. And his ideals and philosophy on life, especially between mutant and humankind, is the thing that he takes with him to the very end. Once the missiles hit the core of the asteroid M and starts making everything go crazy, and everyone stays huddled in Jean's little shieldy thing, Cyclops reaches out his hand to give one last chance to Bastion to join them. But Bastion would rather welcome Oblivion as a friend and let his life's work end with his destruction. And thus is the end of Bastion. With Asteroid M coming to its destruction, everyone's trying to grab a hold off of anything they can grab, including Morph, who turns into Mr. Fantastic, which makes for a great little Morph cameo. But yeah, once everything starts to fall apart, Jubilee flies out and Sunspot goes after her and thankfully saves her, but everyone else is still stuck on Asteroid M. When Scott tries to pull a heroic sacrifice thing, Rogue reiterates that everyone's sacrifice up till now was for every one of them to live, and therefore the new plan is for everyone to use their powers in order to keep Asteroid M from crashing into the Earth, which is a definitely cool and amazing sequence that plays out from here on out, seeing as though they have a different rendition of the X-Men theme. Everyone's using their powers to their best. Beast is maintaining the controls in the center. Jean and Storm use their powers to hold up or at least to push back on the asteroid. Rogue uses her flight and super strength to push it back up. Scott giving his full optic blast energy to the core in order to stabilize it. What was Morph doing? Trying to help in their own way too. And naturally, we all know that the mission is complete and they save everyone. But before we get to that part, there's so many good moments to talk about. And so we get to the big moment. Oh, the talk between Cable and his parents through the mental connection that they all have with each other. Oh, it was so sweet and so full of emotions. But yeah, for just them talking it out, Scott finally admitting that he had unintentionally hurt Cable so much with his mistake of not being able to say bye the first time. not being able to be there for him, and then for Cable to admit that he had resentment, that all he wanted to do all of his life was just be with his parents during the glory days, seeing as though all he hears about is just stories about the X-Men and from a time that he was robbed from. But it was just definitely nice to hear him say that those legends really didn't do my folks justice, seeing as though now that he's actually fought with them, he knows just how great they truly are. And especially not only as the X-Men, but as people, as his parents. And I thought that this little connection between Cable and Trunks from Dragon Ball Z, where it's like a hero from the future comes back and meets their parents and just creates a stronger bond with them, is just pretty great stuff. And just Cable like finally feeling good emotions and just having like a really great positive time for once is a really great thing. And not only that, but also for Scott to let out all of his anxieties and regrets about everything that's happened so far in his relationship with Cable. That was just pretty great stuff. And especially with Jean as well, seeing as though she's technically not the real mother, but there they are. She's definitely still the love of Scott's life and mother to Cable, which is just all pretty great stuff all around. Oh, and then especially when she's all like, oh yeah, you have your father's eyes, and then she mentally deactivates Scott's power so that he and Cable can look at each other with their own eyes. Let me look at you with my own eyes. Oh, it was so great. And especially since you can see Cable just immediately break down in his heart and finally being able to express himself. And for Scott to say how much he's proud and loves Nathan is just very beautiful of a scene. I just love this stuff. I just love writing like this scene. It's pretty great. And definitely should see more of this in other types of media as well. But there's not enough words to express just how beautiful this scene is with these people, with this family. And just for everyone to let go of all the bad stuff and just focus on their love for one another. Just incredibly great writing for this. Love it. Blood is blood, but family is a choice. Well, we catch back up with what's going on back on Earth, and we see that the UN is freaking out because, well, the missiles that the American government sent to destroy Asteroid M seemingly failed. And when I saw that, I thought, what did you think was gonna happen? I thought that was, although this situation is very serious, it's just always funny, this trope of like the American government in fictional movies like this. And I forget which Transformers movie, and Avengers too, where they think, oh yeah, our best option is just to send a missile to just destroy the problem, get rid of it. It's like, hello, it's a missile. Those things have ramifications. And especially when it doesn't work, it can still destroy the planet if your missile didn't. I just thought that this little scene was just funny in that sense. It's like, come on, you guys. You really thought the missiles was going to take out that asteroid base. Come on. You have to do better. And then naturally, when the US is getting coverage about the Asteroid M thing, we get to see Peter Parker back. Yes, when it came to the cameos with the other superheroes, I was like, come on, where's Spidey? Where's Spidey? Where's Spidey? He's definitely has to be helping right now. But then it was like, oh no, he's just here with MJ. And it was pretty cool to see, wait, MJ's here? Wait a minute. What? For those of you who don't know, who have never seen the 90s Spider-Man show, go watch it. It's really good. And then come back to video. Spoilers for the ending of Spider-Man, or the last 2 seasons of Spider-Man. Essentially, since Gwen Stacy was never in the show, during the iconic Green Goblin showdown on the Washington or Brooklyn Bridge, whichever it was in the show, instead of pushing Gwen off to her death, because Spot was involved, because now that we know who Spot is because of Spider-Verse, I knew him from the cartoon show because he had a little mini arc with all of his universal teleporting thingies. So Green Goblin had a device that mimicked his abilities. And instead of MJ falling to her death, she accidentally fell into one of these portal things. And so then naturally, P was pretty rageful, and they had a little clone saga where Professor Warren made a clone of MJ because her ex, Hydro Man, asked for a clone of her made out of his own Hydro ability. So then when the clone died of Hydro Man, MJ's clone died. This is all just convoluted, like animated show stuff. So just go with it. The point I'm making is, after a whole season of crazy shenanigans, like with the Secret Wars and the Spider War soon after. At the very end of the series, Madam Web came to, yes, because Madam Web was an actual character before the movie, and I'm talking about the old lady, not the younger one. When she came to Peter, she said that she had the chance to help him out to find the real Mary Jane in the cosmos or whatever. So the show ended with them going after MJ. And supposedly there was going to be another season after that where we explored and actually witnessed Spider-Man finally finding the real MJ and bringing her back. But since that was canceled along with the show to make way for Spider-Man Unlimited, another cool show, by the way, only because of the Spider-Man suit design and the theme song, we never saw the light of day of that. But with the thing that I had mentioned in my previous X-Men video, that if they were to adapt the Spider-Man animated series as a sequel series, just like how 97 is a sequel series to the original X-Men show, where it's just a continuation instead of a reboot, MJ being here definitely proves that, oh, in fact, that canceled season definitely still happens in the continuity, just off screen. So, Marvel, if you're listening and you want to make money by producing a sequel series to Spider-Man, what year did it come out? 99? Or just the 90s animated cartoon show, it's definitely going to take place after that other season. So we'll definitely be seeing brand new content. No adapting any canceled season content, seeing as though MJ's here, or maybe they would still adapt some of the other villains. But still, the fact that the real MJ is in fact here means that a continuation would mean brand new stuff and material for our favorite Spider-Man. Well, I was going to say web slinger, but I just said Spider-Man, our favorite and most nostalgic Spider-Man. So yeah, with all that said, if it wasn't clear, I love me some Spider-Man. It was nice of Morph to morph into Jean Grey to give Wolverine even more of a pep talk, seeing as though he would know that Jean would definitely say this line, "I love you, Logan, stay with me," in order to get Wolverine to build up the strength to come back. But I also like the sense that this is Morph confessing their love for Logan too, seeing as though Morph has always had a thing for Wolverine. I thought that was a cool little subtle moment as well, with the double meaning, well, with the whole Jean Grey pep talk to Wolverine, and then Morph allowing themselves to take the opportunity to confess as well. I thought that was a little sweet. The final part to the whole B story of Magneto and Professor X bringing Magneto back to one piece definitely works out, seeing as though Magneto remembers who he is and comes back stronger than ever, especially once Xavier says the line, "Remember what he was meant to do." And that was the thing that woke up Magneto to realize that he was meant to take everything that he's been through and do his best to make the world a better place for everyone. Which was so awesome when he does in fact come back to consciousness, rips through the X-Jet and just merely says with such a cool visual, "Magneto lives!" Such a cool part, and I'm super glad that they weren't going to go with the Onslaught storyline, because that would have been super dark. But it's very cool to see that Xavier actually managed to save Magneto in a peaceful way, and for Magneto to also realize what it takes to do the right thing without having to resort to violence, and finally accepting himself as well. I thought that was all pretty sweet, and seeming as though everything comes full circle for Magneto. And definitely, it was a great time for him to come back to consciousness, because he woke up just in time in order to prevent Asteroid M from crashing, which was definitely super, super close to just actually making impact, which was crazy. It was cool to see the scale using Times Square to just show off everything. And I like the cool little Easter eggs here in the posters as well. But yeah, definitely Magneto coming back at the right time was definitely a cool and palpable scene to watch. And thus the day is saved, thanks to the... Whoa, wait, what? That was my expressions when all of a sudden Asteroid M just disappears in this like cosmic-y kind of space dust thing, which was the crazy thing. Was like the first time I didn't notice it, and then I was like, wait a minute, what? Wait, where did they go? What happened? And I was like, oh, maybe someone teleported them away or something like that, or it's like, what's happening? And then the scene transitions to the next scene, which oh boy, we've entered something that I called in the last video. And thus, let's address the elephant in the room first, because, yep, I called it. I knew it. We'd get a tease to the next season with the return of Bishop from the future. And yes, back to the actual thing, scene by scene. Oof. To know that it's been a 6-month time skip and seeing as though all the X-Men are seemingly dead because, well, they pretty much disappeared. And just to see how the world has slowly become a little bit of a disarray with everything that happened post Bastion and stuff. And, saving the world from Asteroid M's impact and the missile fallout. It definitely must be hard on all the remaining X-Men characters, such as Jubilee, Sunspot, Dr. Cooper, and especially Forge, who has been going through so much, especially with the loss of his love, Storm, at least the presumed loss of Storm and the others. He's just been reeling in all of his depression, and naturally, he's seemingly given up, but thankfully, Bishop comes just in time to save him and give him the hope that if they work together, they can find a way to bring back the X-Men, which I thought it was pretty fun dialogue of Forge being like, I've looked everywhere, I don't know where they are. And Bishop's like, it's not about where they went, it's when. Time travel for next season, which then confirms what everyone's been talking about for the next season. And unfortunately, unlike Wolverine and the X-Men that teased pretty much the same thing, seems like X-Men 97 is going to enter the Age of Apocalypse in season 2, or at least another arc with Apocalypse. We shall see. 97 still getting a second season, right? This scene was so cool. Just seeing time go back and forth between the ancient past and the ancient future, where we see our team being split up into two. So, in the far past, we see Rogue, Beast, Professor X, Nightcrawler, Magneto. They're all together in ancient Egypt, which right away you instantly know something to do with Apocalypse. And the cool action scene here is them defending Warrior, fighting off a bunch of these other guys too. Thus, when we catch up with Scott and Jean, they are sent to the far future and meet Clan Ascani. I'm not quite familiar with Mother Ascani nor the Clan Ascani, so I would love to know more about it. If someone can mention it, the TLDR down in the comment section down below. Or I can't wait to watch the videos that people will probably make explaining it in the days following the episode. But yep, not only do we get that, but we also get the surprise reveal of it's Nathan. It's a young Nathan. And this is the actual Nathan that was sent to the future from the present, which is now, I guess, his present. But, oh boy, not only is this a crazy reveal that's going to be explored in the next season, which it's pretty good that both Scott and Jean were teleported to here to meet Nathan, which is natural, but I can't wait to see this storyline take place. It's too early to speculate, but oh man, already theories are just going through my head, not only with Nathan, but the character that our X-Men characters meet in the far past, which is, it's En Sabah Nur, aka it's Apocalypse! It's young Apocalypse in the past, who's with our X-Men characters that are stuck there. And oh boy, all these implications, all of this theorizing, that them seeing a young Apocalypse, I wonder exactly what's going to happen. His design is so cool. And I just noticed now while looking at the pictures, I thought he had black hair or dark gray hair. It's very much dark blue hair, which is pretty nice. I love his design. But oh boy, all the theories about what this storyline entails, it's going to be very exciting. And then there's this place that I have no idea what this place is. Is this Apocalypse's domain, kingdom place, or is this something else? I'm pretty sure this is a reference to something, but seeing as though I don't know what that reference is, please do let me know down in the comment section down below. Or I'll just have to patiently wait for a video to watch what it is. But this place looks cool. It looks very much cool. I thought it was pretty funny that Hanks are like, oh dear, this is bad. It was super cool to see the nostalgic to be continued sign, but ooh, the chills that it gives by saying that. Oh, excitement's gonna be up in the air for what comes next for X-Men 97 when season 2 comes out in probably 2 years. No, thus the wait begins. And so, yeah, that wraps up the video. Wait a minute. After credit scene, we get present-day Apocalypse on present-day Genosha going through the rubble and talking about how there's so much death as he picks up Gambit's final card of the Queen of Hearts, which I'd love to pick at it, seeing as though Queen of Hearts, Rogue is the queen of his heart, but the one thing that I instantly got excited about when I was watching it, I was like, oh, cool. Apocalypsing Gambit's card and says death. And it hit me. Yo! I had to look it up immediately after. And I was like, yes, that was right. Because, as it turns out, at some point during one of the comic runs, Gambit does in fact become one of Apocalypse's horsemen, and specifically the Horsemen of Death. So, oh boy, if they're going to adapt this version of Gambit and somehow resurrect him in the next season, and we get the 4 Horsemen of Apocalypse, oh, things are gonna go crazy. But yep, with that after credit scene, and finally everything else was shown, the episode comes to an end. And with that, Season 1 comes to a close with a great tease for Season 2 when we catch up whenever it comes out. I wanted one last final shot of the school from the credits, but I couldn't quite get it, seeing as though I'd moved too fast. But so I just decided, here, let's have the cast listing, which is pretty great to see everyone who's voicing it. And props to Ross McQuan. His voice acting is so good, you can barely even tell that it's him. But yep, with that, this video finally comes to a close. And I'm sorry for its length. You know I have so much to talk about. And you know I'm a yapper too, so there's that. But I hope that you all use the timestamp guide down in the description, and well, you scan through the YouTube video as well to help you skim through your favorite parts of the episode. But with that, what did you all think about the episode and the season overall? Drop all your thoughts, comments, theories, disagreements, concerns, and all that stuff down in the comment section down below, where I'll give it a read, and I'd love to hear from all of you. And hey, if you liked the video, why not drop a like and consider subscribing to you if you're too much X-Men on my mind. Consider subscribing if you're new and checking out some of my other content here too, just like my Spider-Man 2 gameplay playlist. But with that, your help and support is very much appreciated, for you're awesome. But with that, I'm CJ, and I'll catch you all in the next video, especially for the next whatever video I decide to push out here on the channel. And I'll catch you all next time. Hope that you all have a great day, and we'll see you back here talking about X-Men when Season 2 finally releases in, like, what, 2 years? Or at least when Wolverine and Deadpool finally come out. But yes, with that, I'll catch you all next time. Bye-bye for now. Bub. See ya.